Hey, what's up? This is Natasha for Colty Collective. I am here with Lee Shorten. He is an actor. You may recognize him from some awesome shows as scrolling down the screen right now. We're going to talk to Lee about his hustle and heart as a working actor.
Hi, I'm Lee Shorten. I'm a working actor. I'm lucky to be a working actor, and I'm just here talking to Natasha from Colty Collective about my hustle and heart.
Where do I begin? Tell me, where were you born? What's the beginning? No, I'm just kidding. What's the beginning of your story?
Fucking Stormy, no. What's the beginning of my story?
Let's start from the beginning. Who are you? Who's Lee?
I'm an actor, lawyer, raised in Australia, though I was born in Korea, and I was adopted, so I had like a white family. And then I lived there in Australia for 29 years, and then I moved here, which was about 4 years ago.
So how did you get from Australia to Vancouver, and were you acting at that time? Like, how did you even begin this career path?
So I was a lawyer for 5 years before I moved here, and no, I hadn't really acted or anything since high school, and I hadn't really even thought about it, to be honest. I did film studies as my liberal arts major, and I really, really liked film and TV, but I always thought I'd probably be a director before an actor, to be honest, because I like, shot composition and visual storytelling. But then when it came to it, acting seemed like it made more sense.
So, you're of Korean descent. Like, you're born Korean.
Yeah, although it's a funny thing too, because I was adopted, so I didn't really know a lot about anything except I was born in Korea. So last year I got a bit curious and I did one of those DNA tests, and so it turns out I'm only half Korean, and then I'm Japanese Chinese on my father's side.
I do not understand, sir. I think you do, Sergeant. What is this man's crime?
The shooting of the Crown Prince.
Hey?
But we've been pursuing Frank Frink.
The witness said Frink never discharged his weapon.
Then why not arrest and interrogate this man?
Because that is exactly what the Nazis would want us to do.
So there are actually roles that you are auditioning for that are like specify, the origin, or I guess the heritage and ethnicity of that particular character. So what do you feel, or what do you think about, directors and producers and writers actually writing roles specifically for Asian ethnicities?
I think what we all do, directors, actors, writers, everyone in the business, we all tell stories, right? We're storytellers. And I think whenever we're making decisions about anything, it's always like what best serves the story or what doesn't serve the story. So, if having a very ethnically specific character is going to serve the story, great. If it doesn't, then why?
You've been working pretty actively since 2014, was it? Or at least according to your IMDb.
Yeah, I think that's when I started. Yeah.
Okay. And so since then, you've played a number of different roles. What's been your favorite role to play to date?
I think it has to be Sergeant Yoshida on Men in the High Castle. But look, I loved so much about that project because, for those who don't know, it's based on a Philip K. Dick novel. And Philip K. Dick is like the science fiction guy. He wrote the book that Blade Runner is based on, and Minority Report, Scanner Darkly. Like he's the guy, and I've been a huge fan for ages. And then Ridley Scott's one of the executive producers, and again, I love a lot of his work too, especially Blade Runner. Blade Runner's like the science fiction film, I think. So just to be able to play in that world and step into that world was like so cheesy, but it is one of those dream come true kind of moments.
Like, what was that community like in terms of like building that camaraderie amongst all these different Asian actors of like different ages, as well as, a number of years in the industry? How would you describe that?
We were really, really lucky because guys like Carey, who plays Tagomi, and Joel De La Fuente, who plays Kido, they're like journeyman actors. They've been around for so long, and they're like honestly lovely, lovely human beings. You couldn't ask for nicer, more generous, more professional guys. So they were so welcoming, right? And just so willing to share their experience, kind of take you under their wing. Because I think too, for a lot of those guys especially, they've probably been like the only Asian on set for forever. So I think they're like, to get the chance to kind of mentor some younger Asian actors is like, it's like kids. It's just like, we're finally getting there or something. So working with them was phenomenal. I learned so much, and I owe them a great deal.
What are you... Mr. Jordan can be back any second.
You missed our meeting, Mr. McCarthy.
I know. I couldn't get away.
We continue to let you live and your friend Frank live. Why?
So I can be useful.
And are you being useful?
And how did your parents feel about this? And I mean, I'm asking you this question with, you know, that your parents are like Caucasian, they're Australian, you know, right? And so, like, do they? I know there's the stereotypes of like Asian parents, like wanting to like, I want my kid to be like a doctor, a lawyer, an accountant, so on and so forth. Did you feel any pressure from your parents to go towards a certain path or not towards a certain path?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's funny. Everyone always says, "Oh, you had white parents, you must have been okay," but they're oddly Asian stereotype in that respect. Like, maybe that's why they adopted Asian children. No. Yeah, so I graduated high school and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and there was an immense amount of pressure from, you know, my teachers and my parents and a lot of older people to be like, "Hey, you have to do law or medicine. Like, you have to do it. They're your only two choices." And I chose law because I thought it'd be easier than medicine, which I still think is true. Everyone gives me that look when I say that, but
Both sound really hard to me, but okay.
well, you know, like medicine, you have to memorize like the anatomy and things. Whereas law, you can always have your case files there.
You can look stuff up,
Yeah,
actually.
you can cheat more. Not cheat, but you know.
Because cheating would be bad.
Yes, cheating would be unethical. So,
Spoken like a true lawyer.
can't help it. Truth is, I actually didn't tell them that I was giving up law to come here and be an actor because I knew that they would freak out. So what happens is if you're Australian, you can just get a working visa for 2 years. And a lot of people just come over and like work the snowfields for a year and then go home, right? So I kind of suggested, because I was about to turn 30, that I would take a year break and I would just travel to Canada and then I would come back and be a lawyer, knowing full well that that's not what I was going to do at all.
Oh, sorry, mom and dad.
Because I knew they'd freak out, right? And I just thought if it was going well, then when I'm like, hey, I'm an actor now, but you can see me on television, it would be more like, oh, you're not throwing everything away and chasing this crazy dream, like you're doing something. And very, very luckily, that's kind of how it happened.
Well, I would say, you know, maybe not just luck. I think it's also, you know, hard work and putting yourself in the right position and finding the right people and the right, you know, opportunities for yourself.